Hi everyone, my name is Kazim Adegwega and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on overview of System Center Configuration Manager. So in today's webinar, we're going to be taking a look at the following objectives. We'll begin with overview of System Center Management by using Enterprise Management Solutions. To be specific now, System Center Configuration Manager. We'll look at overview of Configuration Manager architecture itself, and we'll try to wrap things up today with an overview of Configuration Manager administrative tools, where I'm going to be showing you what the interface of the System Center Configuration Manager looks like, and we can as well manage System Center using Windows PowerShell. So without any further ado, let's get to work. Challenges of managing systems and users in today's enterprise. So it's now become a known fact that administrators today face quite a number of challenges when it comes to managing their enterprise. And now this is so because, or this is due to the fact that users want to have access to the resources of the network from wherever they are using all kind of devices, right? They want to be able to use their mobile device to connect to the network. In today's world of BYOD, bring your own device. So this tend to pose some kind of threat, some kind of challenge, for the network administrator. When you compare it to how administrators used to work in the past, where they only had to manage internal computers. So the case is not the same on today's network, because of uh, the BYOD growth that we're having in the enterprise today. So, and of course, one of the tool, one of the so many, available solution in the market today that you can use to manage such challenges is the System Center Configuration Manager, right? So let's take a look at overview of System Center and the Enterprise Mobility Suite. So first is System Center. So System Center is made up of 6 powerful applications, for managing the network and the enterprise. So the application includes Configuration Manager, Data Protection Manager, the Orchestrator, Operations Manager, Service Manager, and the Virtual Machine Manager. So let's have a quick run through, all of this. Starting with the configuration manager. The configuration manager is used for system and device management, right? So if you need your systems on your network to be discovered, be probed, be discovered, you need to do operating system rollout to some of the devices or all of the devices that you have on your network. System Center can help you with that. If you need to do patch management, for your operating system or application software patch, System Center can help you. You need to do hardware and software inventory, where you want to find out how many devices. You can even get granular, trying to probe for the number of available Windows 10 systems on your network. So you can do that with System Center. You can as well tell how many users do you have using Microsoft Office, for example. How often do they use Microsoft Office, so on and so forth. So those are some of the things that System Center Configuration Manager can help with. Another powerful application that we have within the System Center suite is the Data Protection Manager. Now, the Data Protection Manager gives you a robust enterprise backup and recovery system, right? So it is used to facilitate backup and recovery of the enterprise data. So if you're looking at an enterprise-wide data protection solution, backup and recovery solution for your network from Microsoft, then you want to think Data Protection Manager. There is also the orchestrator. So the orchestrator provides a workflow management solution that allows you to automate processes on your network. I'll give an example here. If you have a user join your network, that new user will need to have an account created for him or her on AD. The user need to have a system for him or herself joined to the domain, depending on the department that the person belongs to. The person definitely need to have some softwares, installed on his or her system, right? So all of those processes can be automated using the orchestrator. There's also the operations manager. Now, operations manager provides infrastructure monitoring, for your network. So it provides an interface for you to view the system functionality, the state of the system, and even the performance of the systems as well. Next is the service manager. The service manager provides you a platform for managing what is known as MOF, Microsoft Operation Framework, and ITIL processes, right? IT infrastructure library, processes. So it allows us to manage incidents and problems, right? So if you're looking for an incident management tool, an incident management application and problem management application, then you want to think service manager. And finally, we have the VMM, the virtual machine manager. The virtual machine manager provides a central management process for Windows Server 2012 Hyper-V based virtual machines, right? So it helps us to consolidate multiple physical servers within a central virtualized environment, so to speak, right? So you can manage multiple VMs that you have installed on multiple Windows servers, right? So that way you can even manage VMs that you have installed on each of the VMs. So the tool to use for that is the virtual machine manager. Good. So there is also the enterprise mobility suite. The enterprise mobility suite is a suite of cloud-based tools and technologies that you can use to protect your files, applications, and also devices on your network, right? So this enterprise mobility tools is made up of three different products to include Microsoft Azure Active Directory Premium, you have Microsoft Intune, and you have Microsoft Azure Right Management. For the Microsoft Azure Active Directory Premium, it provides an identity and access management for you in the cloud, right? So an equivalent of this on-premises will be your ADDS, right? Your domain controller that you have on-prem. So an equivalent of that in the cloud is your Microsoft Azure AD. So and if you already have AD in the cloud and you need to also consume some cloud-based services, some Microsoft cloud-based services, you can even look at running an hybrid environment, right? So where you link up your Active Directory that you have on-prem with your Microsoft Azure Active Directory. So that possibility is there for you to leverage on. There's also the Microsoft Intune. Now, Intune provides you mobile device and mobile application management capabilities, right? So if you need a way of being able to manage mobile devices within your enterprise, then you need Microsoft Intune, right? And Microsoft Intune as well can be integrated with System Center, to provide you a single pane for device management. So you do all of your device management from one standpoint, using one console, using one System Center Configuration Manager console, right? Um, there's also the Microsoft Azure Right Management. For Microsoft Azure Right Management, it provides you information protection. When let's say when you want to encrypt your files and emails, right? So you can define, for example, if I'm sending an email, so I can decide to write protect my email using Microsoft Azure Right Management such that I don't allow people print the content of the email. I can protect my email such that people are not able to forward the email to other people. right? And an equivalent of this on-prem will be the ADRMS, Active Directory Right Management Service. Overview of Configuration Manager. Now let's take a closer look at what the Configuration Manager proper can do for us. I already mentioned it earlier that you can use the Configuration Manager for asset management, where you want to be able to manage your assets, your asset being the devices that you have on your network. So you can get System Center Configuration Manager to discover those devices, and then you can begin to manage those devices once those devices have been discovered. You can use System Center Management as a change management and problem management tool as well. And these are some additional features that System Center Configuration Manager can help us with. Hardware software inventory is one of them. Asset intelligence, software metering, software monitoring, in actual sense, gives you the ability to view who is using what software, and how much of it are they actually, using. So you can tell whether to proceed with licensing that software, for your users, or to reduce how many licenses to acquire once the initial license expires. Application management is another one. If you need to roll out application on those devices that has been discovered by System Center, so you can roll them out. There are different ways of rolling out application using System Center. You can as well do software update management, right? If you need to push updates to applications you have on your systems, or to the operating system that you've installed on your system, so you can push those updates as well using System Center. So the System Center box need to have a role installed on it, and there is a server role that needs to be present on that Windows Server systems as well. That's the WSOS server role. So once you have it, then you can you can push out updates to the systems. So we also have operating system deployment. So we can as well use System Center Configuration Manager for operating system deployment. System Center Configuration Manager can also help us with content management, endpoint protection, where you begin to define similar things that you have in your firewalling rules. There are also some very nice reporting that you can generate from the data that you have stored in the backend of System Center Configuration Manager using SQL Server. And you can also do some monitoring via the monitoring workspace. Um, Next, let's take a look at overview of Configuration Manager hierarchy. Now, keep in mind that the System Center Configuration Manager hierarchy is of three types. So there are three site types in Configuration Manager. The first one being the primary site tier. So the primary site contains all the roles necessary to manage your environment. Now, if you are not going to be having a lot of users in your other branch offices, or if you have an organization without a branch office, then the primary site simply contains all the things that you need. It contains all the necessary roles that you need to manage your enterprise with. At the same time, now, if you know you're going to be having multiple locations, then you can look at setting up secondary sites, right? That is, if your organization consists of many physical locations, so you might consider deploying this one in some of your other locations. So the secondary site server contains subset of the available roles in System Center, and this can support about 15,000 clients, whereas the primary site tier has support for about 175,000 clients. And at the very top, you have the central administration site. So the central administration site is the root of the primary and the secondary site. So you don't necessarily need the central administration site unless you need to have multiple sites. So if all you're going to have is just one site, then you don't need this. So you can simply make do with the primary site. Next, let's talk about the roles on System Center Configuration Manager system, shall we? Now, keep in mind that when you install the System Center configuration site, there are several site system roles that get installed on it by default. So some of these roles are required in each of the sites for each of the sites core operation, whereas some of the other roles are considered to be optional roles. So the ones that you have installed during setup will include roles such as the site server. The site server provides the core functionality for the site, right? And you also have the site system as well. The site system is a computer that provides specific configuration manager functionality, to a site. A good one might be a computer running the software update point server role. And you also have the component server. The component server is a server host um, is is required to support other roles. Example of such role will be the management point. The management point is the primary point of contact for your client's communication. So if client need to connect to the system center, so they connect to system center via the management point. There's also the site database. The site database is a computer that runs SQL Server, an instance of SQL Server that stores information for configuration manager. So it depends on how you want to have your environment set up. So you can look at this SQL Server instance being installed on a separate machine, or if you're low on budget, you can decide to also co-locate it on the same machine. So even though that isn't a supported practice. So there are some other optional roles here. Distribution point is one. So if I need to distribute software, so you need to have this role installed on the computer. You have the management point. I just mentioned that earlier. There's the reporting service point. So if you need to generate some nice looking reports, you need to have that installed. And we also have the software update point. So software update point is necessary, is a role that is necessary when you need to you need to patch your operating systems on the client systems that you have on your network. So you need to make sure that you have this role installed. Now, if you're looking to have this role installed on a separate machine, then that machine also alongside, once you choose to install this role, alongside it at the background, it would go to server manager and also install the W source Windows Server role. Using the configuration manager console. Now, this is what an interface of System Center Configuration Manager looks like. You have the ribbon, right? So the ribbon interface looks pretty similar to what you have with the Office application, most of all the Office applications. So the ribbon, it contains action that you can perform on a selected object, right? So once you have an object selected, the content of the ribbon will also change accordingly to reflect the action that you can carry out. There is also the navigation pane here. Perhaps before talking about the navigation pane, let's mention the workspaces, right? So for the workspace are navigational tools that helps us to navigate quickly through different management areas. So if I need to perform software related tasks, so I'll need to open up the software library. So I can do software push to my clients from here. If I need to um, discover clients, I need to discover devices on my network, let's say. So I need to click on the administration pane. So you can do discovery from the administration pane. If you're looking to also add Intune, we talked about Intune earlier on, that it allows you to manage your mobile devices. So if you need to add your Intune subscription to System Center, so you also get to do it from the administration workspace. You also have your asset and compliance workspace, so you can discover your, create your subnet, discover your devices from the asset and compliance workspace, and you have the monitoring as well workspace. Now, depending on what the workspace that you have selected, so you also have what is known as this navigational pane, right? So the navigation pane is the main navigational area, so it contains the node that makes up the selected workspace. So I said that once you have a workspace selected, then it opens up this navigational pane that contains the different things you probably want to do. So under the administration here, you can see if I want to view my site or add additional row to our site. So you can do that by clicking on site, right clicking on this, and then choosing to add additional rows, right? We also have the results pane here. The result pane displays the objects that are available under the currently selected workspace. So we have a workspace selected. You're going to see the results pane here. The result pane is also subcategorized into two. You have the list view, and if you need to gather more information about item in your results pane, so underneath it you have the details pane. As you can see, we have this site selected, and you're able to gather more information about the site under the results pane. So it would be nice for me to show you what this looks like on a real System Center server. So let's try to log into one of my server. Alright, so to open System Center, there are multiple ways of opening System Center. So I can choose to open System Center by clicking on the Start button, look up System Center from here. This is System Center, it's here, right here, the System Center Configuration Manager console. Now, if I want System Center to be a click away from me on the taskbar, so I simply right click, System Center, and then I can pin it to start, pin it to taskbar accordingly. So I already have it pinned to the taskbar, so I can launch it from there. Click on it to launch it. And again, so this is the same interface that we've seen in the slide. These are workspaces. You can see asset and compliance, so I can check out my discovered devices from here, and I can manage each one of these devices from here as well. I can view my users that has been discovered on this network. I can manage the users from here as well, and if I need to also group the users and the computers accordingly, so I can do that under user collection, device collection. You get the picture. Software library is another workspace. So as you can see, if I expand application management, so I can deploy application or deploy packages, so I can decide to approve user requests, to get an application installed. I can also manage software updates. From here I want to view all the available updates, so you can view it by clicking on all software updates that has been downloaded to the WSource server. So once you have that role installed, you don't manage the WSource using its own console, so you have to do the management from here for things to go well. Regarding operating system rollout, so you can do that under operating system. Install the driver ahead of time. Choose to add your operating system images. You already have some boot images that has been added for you that you can leverage on. You can create a task sequence as well, and we said you can do monitoring. So under monitoring, you can see we can view some alerts, view some reporting. You can see your site hierarchy, view your client status, so on and so forth. And we also talked about the ribbon, that the content of the ribbon will change depending on what you have selected. Right now, I have device collection selected, so you can see that the content of the ribbon has now changed accordingly. We talked about the results pane, that when you click on an item in the results pane, it gives you some more verbose information about that item that you selected here under the detail pane. So this is one interface that you can use to manage System Center. So if you need to manage System Center, you are not restricted to managing System Center using the System Center Configuration Manager console alone. So you can as well choose to manage System Center using PowerShell. To manage System Center using PowerShell, so you click on the ribbon tab, the ribbon next to the Home ribbon tab, and you can click Connect via PowerShell. So we're waiting for it to load. Okay, so it's now right. So it's now running. So let's just see if it works here. So I'll try get command module. I want to see all the available System Center commandlets, right? So I'll do configuration manager and press enter. So as you can see now, these are all the available System Center commandlets that you can use. How about let's view our site. So if I need to gather information about my site, I need to tell what the site name is, what the site code is. So you can use your get CM site. Yes, get CM site, get CM site, and press enter. Good and good. So you can see the installation directory is in this path. The server name is lon-cfg.adatom.com. The site code is S01. What other information? The site name is Adatom site, the status is 1, and so on and so forth. So that's one way of using PowerShell to manage the System Center. Alternatively, you might be wondering, what is the difference between this PowerShell that we launched from the ribbon tab and this PowerShell that we have here? You can as well use the regular PowerShell to manage System Center. If you need to do that, you will open PowerShell. So let's have PowerShell open. All right, so you will need to, unfortunately, run a particular script. So let's open the C drive. We open program files x86. Configuration manager, admin console, and the bin directory. And we're looking for a particular file called configuration manager.psd1. So this is the file that we need to execute. So what I'm going to do real quick, let me copy this path, set location to paste, right? And I can execute that particular script. Let me import the module first of all, because the regular PowerShell does not contain the necessary modules, that has the System Center commandlet in it. So you need to import those. So import module. Module name is configuration manager.psd1. Good and good. Alright, so now that the module is been installed, you can now begin to use this Windows PowerShell as well to manage System Center. So just as an FYI, there are over 500 PowerShell commandlets, that Windows PowerShell, supports. So I gave it to you earlier, how to dump out all of those commandlets. So now we'll try to wrap things up here in today's webinar. So if you have any question, try to post your question using the post board, and hopefully so I'm going to be responding to your question. So I hope today's webinar has been informative.